So while we're on the subject of text, we should also cover text wrapping. And that just means it's going to allow us to put pictures, photos, anything inside the text so that the text doesn't go over it, it'll actually wrap around these objects. This document doesn't actually contain any text wrapping, but that's okay. We can just add in a little bit so we can learn the technique, and then in later projects, we'll start implementing it in a creative sort of way. So let's get our project open. I reopen the pictures and text with no overset text, so that should be the file you're on, and then we can open up the final as well, and then do the exact same thing we've done before, drop this down, and then go through the little process of shrinking this down, which is always a pain, but it really helps guide us like so. Then let's see, move this over like that, and there we go. So now we have this back open again, so we can kind of look around. But you notice both of these don't have text wrapping. So let's just kind of go over what exactly text wrapping is and how we can implement it. To implement text wrap, we actually need to open up a new panel that is going to control it for us, which means we just need to go up to Window right here, and then go down to text wrap. You can also hit Control Alt plus W, and that'll open it up for you as well, right like so. So you'll see a couple of buttons up here, and these are going to be how we're going to be affecting the text wrap. There's actually a few different options that we can use to wrap the text around our objects. So the first one right here is going to be what is called wrap around the bounding box. So if we click on this, and if you actually highlight over there, it should tell you right there, wrap around bounding box. And what that means is it's going to wrap around the box that the object is in, which in this case is the entire picture. So now if we click on this right here, and we turn this object on, now if we just move it anywhere over here, you'll see all the text dodges this, and it will not let it touch the edges. And we can actually increase the padding on either of the sides right here. So if we keep moving this up, you'll see that the bounding box gets bigger and bigger, and the padding will keep pushing the text farther and farther away. So that'll help us sort of with a little bit of formatting. You can also go into the negatives in this, be aware of that, and you can bring stuff closer to it, sort of like negative margin if you're in HTML or any of that sort of stuff. So now let's move this back right here, and we have another option that we could test out, and that is this one right here, which instead of wrapping it around the bounding box, wrapping it around the shape. This cannot really show that because both the bounding box and the shape are the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a new shape. And all I'm going to go over here is go to the ellipse tool, and we're going to click, and we're just going to drag ourselves a circle. Maybe like so, just like that. And then if you want, you can go up to this little box up here and give it a fill. We'll cover more in depth with shapes as we keep going through these lessons, and eventually we'll really dive into shapes. So now that we have this shape right here, let's drag this up to right there. And you'll notice that the shape has wraparound bounding box, and you see that none of the text will come within the box right here. It's not adhering to the circle, it's adhering to the box. Now, if I click on this button, wrap around object shape, you'll notice that the text changes because now it's allowed to come closer, and you can see that some of the text actually comes inside of that box because it's no longer adhering to the box itself, it's adhering to the shape, the circle itself. And we can actually minus this out some, and you'll see that now the bounding box is the circle itself. So you can actually bring that in just like 1 or 2 pixels, and you'll notice that now the text goes perfectly around this. Might not be really readable with only half words on each side, but that is something that you can do with this. And then for the next 2 buttons, we're actually going to need to create ourselves a new page to sort of work with those because they work with a lot of text. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a new page down here, and you'll see that it created it right here. And we're just going to do what we did in the last lesson. We're going to take a text box. We're going to fill it all the way up like so. Go up to type, and then we're going to fill it with some placeholder text like so. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this box right here, and we're going to drag it down into here. And you'll notice you can see some of those effects again is that it's going to be nicely padded. It's really neat because you can put it anywhere on this page, and it works nicely. And you might want to increase like the left on this one to make sure that it doesn't, cut off like that. Or you can use one of our new buttons, and that is over here called Jump Object. What Jump Object does is it's going to force everything to the left and to the right lower, meaning that you won't have this weird cut off text. It'll be like you're taking a paragraph and then you're moving it down beneath it. So let's just click it so we can take a look at that. And you'll notice right there, all of this is pushed lower than the picture. And now the left and right are completely and totally free. So now we can kind of focus on this image and we aren't distracted by text going around the edges of the image. But you also notice that we have some offset text here. So understand that whenever you do this padding, you're always going to create some offset text. So remember, keep checking your errors to make sure that you don't lose something, you don't export, a page when half of the text is gone because you added a picture into it. For the final button in our row up here, let's go ahead and create another page. So we're going to go in here and we're just going to click the new page button, and you'll see it puts it to the right there because we have facing pages on. And then we're going to go ahead and create ourselves a new giant text box like so. Drop that in there. And then what we actually want to do is we want to link the text from here to here like we did in the previous tutorial. So we're going to click like that, and now the two are linked together again. And so now let's jump back into our text wrap page. And if you don't want them like over, going over each other, remember you can just drag this right here and work from it like so. But I like it kind of like right over here. So the last button in our series is going to actually be something that's called jump to next column. What this means is that this picture is going to be the end of the line for all the text in this text box. So let's click it, and then that'll probably explain it a little bit better. So right now you'll see that it clears everything to the left and to the right and to the bottom. So nothing past this will be able to exist inside of this text box. What it's going to do is it's going to push it to where it's linked next, and that is on the right page over here. So since it can't go into here, it takes all the text and it moves it over. And you'll notice as we move down, it just keeps, the text will keep following it up until the point it reaches a photo, and then it moves over here. Why might you use this? Let's say this was a graph, maybe like figure 3 in a textbook or something. You don't want, one line of text right beneath it, especially when you're like this close. So instead of trying to, manipulate with the padding and stuff, you can just click this button right here and it'll go ahead and jump it to the next column so that this graph will fill the bottom of the screen and you don't have any like leftover text near the bottom. So we have a couple more features in the text wrap to cover, and that is specifically the wrap options. So down here, let's go back to one that supports wrap options, like the bounded box or the object shape right here. And both of these support it, and the reason they support it is because you are wrapping around a specific object instead of like these, which are just clearing certain areas. So these allow you to select it, and it allows you to select how you're going to wrap your text. So for example, let's put this text right up here and make sure we actually have the text frame selected like so. Let's put the text right up here, and let's go ahead and click this wrap around bounding box. And now you'll see that it, doing exactly what we saw it do before, but let's only wrap to the left side. And what that means is that all the text will only go to the left side. So wherever we move this, it's only going to wrap on the left side. And that's why it's worded like this. You wrap to the side that you select. If we hit the right side, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's only going to wrap to the right side. By default, it's on this middle one, which is just, it's going to wrap to both of the sides. However, for example, let's say we had the picture right over here, and let's go wrap to both sides. And you see how there's this like 2 letters over here? We don't want that. So what we can do is we can just say, let's only wrap to our right side now. So we can move those 2 little letters over and fix things up. And then beneath this, we actually have some sort of dynamic buttons that you can choose. So this is the side towards the spine. And what is the spine? It's the center of our book. So when we have pages that face one another, the center is going to be our spine. So what it's going to do is it's going to wrap to whichever side the spine is on. So on this side, it's going to wrap to the right. And if we drag it over here, it's going to wrap everything to the left. And then you can do the exact opposite of that, which is side away from the spine. So whatever is towards the spine, it's going to wrap the opposite side. So the left page is going to wrap on the left. The right page, it'll wrap on the right. And then on the bottom one, we have the largest area. So whichever area is bigger, that's where it's going to wrap. So you see it's still wrapping to the left, but right there is the center point, and it's going to switch over. Now the left side's bigger, so it wraps to the left side. And so all of these options sort of just come together so that you have the utmost control over your wrapping. Because whenever you wrap something around the text, it's going to change the design of the entire document. So they wanted to give you enough controls in here that you can specify exactly how you want to wrap the text around it to fit your design style. So before we go, let's go over the last option, which is contour options down here. Basically what this is doing is it's just going to allow us to choose how the wrap around object shape wraps around the object shape. It's going to be like what exactly is our object, quote unquote. So what we can do is we can actually, right now it's same as clipping. So whatever the frame is, that's what it says. You know what, that's the object. Wherever, we're just going to keep with that. But what we can do is actually go to something cool called detect edges. So if we click detect edges, you'll see that nothing changes at first. But let's go ahead and select our frame here. And let's drag this really, really big. And you'll notice that our frame is now really big. However, the text is wrapping based on the detected edges. It's looked inside this frame and it says, what are the edges of the frame? And it says, what are the edges of the object inside the frame? So the edges of the object inside are the picture. So what it's doing is it's finding those edges and then it's wrapping based on those edges. So you don't even need to have, create your own shapes. You could actually import like a logo or something like that, input it in here, and then detect the edges, and it'll wrap around that newly imported whatever graphic that you inserted. So I just thought that that was a pretty neat feature, and that might come in handy in the future. Of course, you'd want to remove the spacing like so from the edges so that you don't see, the giant box cutting through your text. But that is just kind of a really neat feature that it can actually look inside your box and it can detect the edges. That is really it on text wrapping. It's really, really important because a lot of times you want to put pictures with text, like so. Textbooks, picture books, really anything have, pictures inserted in to show you what they're trying to describe in the piece. So having the ability to wrap around text is really important. It's really helpful to get that design just the way that you want it.